On India Upfront tonight, we continue our focus on a very important story that is going to actually be reflected tomorrow in the Supreme Court. Viewers, yesterday at this precise hour, I had brought to you a story of a dangerous act of subterfuge, an act that stands to alienate a community from the national mainstream, an act that could spawn a terrible backlash against the Indian state, an act that can very easily undermine the unity of this country, blight its democracy. Many on this panel last night took exception to my assessment of the court-ordered anti-encroachment drive in a pocket of Haldwani. They said that I was defending a predatory state. Today, viewers, the lobby that chose to whitewash this dangerous act of subterfuge stands exposed. How, you might ask? Well, let me explain. Times Now has succeeded in catching on its camera the devious design I had warned against yesterday. On our cameras, leaders of political parties have been caught out inciting Muslim residents who have been deemed to be squatting on public land, and viewers who are facing eviction, a court-ordered eviction. Who am I talking about? Congress leaders, Samajwadi Party leaders. Listen in.
ऐसा बिल्कुल राज्य सरकार ने अनदेखी अपने नागरिकों को भी करी और अपनी जमीन को भी खोने को तैयार है। रेलवे अतिक्रमणकारी है। इसमें मेरा आरोप है रेलवे पे। रेलवे अतिक्रमण करना चाह रही है राज्य सरकार की भूमि पे, और राज्य के जो मुख्यमंत्री हैं उनसे बार बार गुहार करी गई, उनसे बोला गया, लेकिन कहीं जू नहीं रहेंगी। ये बड़ा दुर्भाग्य है कि ऐसी सरकार है जो कहती सबका साथ सबका विकास है। विकास की बात तो हम बात करेंगे जब साथ देने का समय आया, तो आज ऐसी भयावह परिस्थिति
आंदोलन होंगे और इन लोगों की आवाज को उठाया जाएगा।
देखिए 10 तारीख लास्ट डेट है। 10 तारीख लास्ट डेट है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का हक में नहीं आया तो 10 तारीख से बुलडोजर चलने शुरू हो जाएंगे। ऐसे में बहुत बुरा माहौल हो जाएगा। कैसे देखेंगे, कैसे रोकेंगे आप लोग?
जाहिर है जिसकी छत तोड़ी जाएगी, जिसकी रोजी रोटी खत्म होगी, वो भी तो बुलडोजर के आगे लेट जाएगा। क्या हमें मार दो? कह रहे हैं लोग कि हमें अपनी जिंदगी अच्छी नहीं लग रही, हमें भी बुलडोजर के नीचे दबा के खत्म कर दे।
On our cameras, Samajwadi Party leaders are to be found coaching Muslim residents to believe that they were being evicted because of their religion. Viewers, that the state is Islamophobic. Listen in to Mr. Jamai.
हर महीने इस तरह की घटनाएं होती हैं कि जब लाखों लोगों को उजाड़ा जाता है, चाहे वो बुलडोजर से उजाड़ा जाए। दिल्ली में हजार अनऑथोराइज्ड झुग्गियां बस्तियां हैं, उन पे भी सरकार उजाड़ने का कार्यक्रम लगाए रहती है। हमारा ये कहना है समाजवादी पार्टी के लोगों का कि जब वो दशकों से वहां पे रह रहे हैं तो आपको उजाड़ने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। और समाजवादी पार्टी ये जानती है कि रेलवे का जो निजीकरण है, उसकी जमीनें प्राइम लैंड हैं, ये किसी न किसी पूंजीपति को देने के लिए।
Now, whipped into a frenzy by such irresponsible statements, the residents are now convinced that the courts and the Uttarakhand administration wants them evicted because and only because they are Muslims. Viewers, just listen in to the reaction of the residents, what they are saying, how they see themselves as a victim. And there are parallels here, viewers, very big parallels. You know what happened in Shaheen Bagh in Delhi when a large number of women residents came to the forefront belonging to one particular community, saying that the state was acting against them and only them. Listen into some of the reactions that are coming out from those. And those are scenes to the left of your screens of, again, women from a particular community praying, saying that they are being victimized. Listen in to the slogans, the music that is being played out, and the slogans that have been chanted. Viewers, these people now believe that the state has abandoned all objectivity, that it is only targeting them because of their faith. Who's responsible for this? Certainly not the courts, viewers. The courts don't dispense justice looking at a person's faith or the gods that they genuflect before. The law of the land is blind to identity, viewers. And by perpetuating this myth, by spreading this propaganda, what are we doing? What are these political parties doing? The facts speak for themselves, and there are hard facts which I want to take you over. And they couldn't be more different from the reality, viewers, that certain people here are trying to create. The facts will prove that the court and the central government haven't suddenly colluded, as they are being accused of, to target Muslims and drive them out of the area for electoral considerations. Let me tell you, in 2013, a PIL is filed for the removal of encroachment on the grounds that the local squatters had been carrying out illegal mining activities. Illegal. That had caused large parts of the RCC Gola bridge at Haldwani to collapse a few years earlier. In 2008, viewers, 5 years earlier, that bridge was collapsing. Why? Because of illegal sand dredging that was taking place at this spot on railway land, public land. It could pose a massive threat to life and safety. And this was happening when? In 2013. 10 years ago, viewers. 10 years ago. So this has not been done by a government or a set of courts now. Time to some election. The Lok Sabha elections. To change the demography, remove Muslims. No, viewers. This began in 2013. In 2014, a division bench of the High Court not only ordered an inspection of the site, but also gave money, allocated funds for the team to ascertain the facts. In June 2015, the court ordered the local administration to establish a police picket in the area so as to check illegal mining. On 9th November 2016, the High Court ordered the removal of the encroachments and ruled in favor, yes, ruled in favor of the railways. The encroachment had to be carried out. The encroachment was to be evicted, in 10 days. But it never took place. Yes, viewers, what is being ordered today had been ordered in 2016 November. Against this order, the Uttarakhand government of the Congress had filed a review petition. But this petition was dismissed in January 2017. In its order, the court tore into the state government. Which state government? It was the Congress government. Viewers, the court said, and I quote, owing to the certain most reckoned political shield which was being provided by the ruling party for its political gains to the unauthorized occupants just to secure a vote bank, the state itself filed a Review 38 petition for no subsisting and valid reasons, unquote. So who's playing vote bank politics, viewers? The Congress played it then. The opposition today is playing it now. These dismissals were later challenged in the Supreme Court in 2017, which allowed individual petitioners to approach the High Court. Once again, viewers, the cycle begins. 5 years later, the High Court once again orders an eviction. These are the facts. So it's quite clear, viewers, that the BJP government or the High Court is not acting in collusion out of a sense of deep Islamophobia as is being alleged. These are the facts. In fact, viewers, Hindu temples and homes are also being evicted. And once again, on camera, we have proof of this. Here's what Times Now team found. Listen to this reporter who filed this news report earlier in the day.
मौजूद हैं वन भूलपुरा इलाके में, जहां पर मकान तोड़ने की कार्रवाई के लिए 10 तारीख का निर्देश दिया गया। और यह बता दूं, ये कोई ऐसा इलाका नहीं, एक पक्ष के ऊपर कार्यवाही हो रही है। यहाँ सर्व समाज के लोग निवास करते हैं और लगातार परेशानी का सबब है, जो वर्षों से रह रहे हैं उनके लिए एक अपना घर छोड़कर जाना काफी परेशान भरा हो सकता है, और वो मान भी रहे हैं और लगातार मंदिर में पूजा अर्चना भी चल रही है। आइए आपसे मैं जानना चाहूंगा कि कैसे देखती हैं आज जो ये कार्यवाही हो रही है सरकार की तरफ से।
हमारा घर बच जाए करके मांगा है, सबका बचे, हिंदू क्या मुसलमान का, सबका बचना चाहिए
जी,
क्योंकि सभी की सबका ही है। बेचारों ने सबने एक एक पैसा जोड़ के बनाया है, तो वो जाएंगे कहाँ, कोई भी होए।
Viewers, time to ask some straight questions. And let me begin with the Samajwadi spokesperson tonight, Vivek Silas Saab. How are you?
I'm fine.
I want to ask you a few questions, sir.
Sure.
Don't you think your leaders are playing such an irresponsible role in creating or feeding off the insecurities of one particular community? Do you realize, sir, the damage that you're doing to the psyche? You did this during the CA. You did this, sir, during the Ram Janam Bhoomi issue, after the verdict of the Supreme Court. You did this during the vaccination drive in COVID, and now on the back of a High Court order. Not once, I've shown you the facts, not once but twice. In fact, the same High Court in 2016 pulls up the Congress for playing vote bank politics, and today, sir, you are accusing the High Court of being part of some Islamophobic orientation. Isn't this, sir, very irresponsible for a national party like yours, or at least a prominent state-level party like yours, sir?
I think, good evening, Rahulji. I think it's a matter of human rights more. As your correspondent just told us.
Sir, first you need to, no, please, don't make this. Now, don't do this. If it was about human rights, you would be talking not in sectarian language, but, sir, in universal terms.
Okay.
You are speaking in sectarian language. Let me quote Samajwadi Party's Ameek Jamai to you, and your own leader who went today, Mr. Hassan, and the other gentleman who I just played out, who said that Sabka Saath is being undermined. That was a Congress person. S.T. Hassan says that this is a predatory exercise. How can the courts be predatory, sir, against one community? Can you just explain this to our viewers and our panelists?
But actually, we believe in the judicial system of India, and tomorrow, as you said, the matter will be taken to the Honorable Supreme Court.
Then what were you doing there today? Inciting.
I'll just tell you why.
Inciting the residents to not follow the court order. Are we going to become a banana republic? Silas Saab, you need to tell the people.
No, not at all.
Kal aap kya karenge? What are you going to defend tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll just tell you.
If the courts decide tomorrow to hang a terrorist, will you stand in the way and say, no, this is a judicial execution? In fact, I think someone did say that. Wasn't it Afzal Guru? There is a pattern here, sir.
No. As far as the Samajwadi Party is concerned, Rahulji, I can just say, whether it was the atrocities on the farmers, whether it was atrocities on the Dalits, or slaughtering of the Brahmins in Uttar Pradesh, or even the OBC's reservation, the Samajwadi Party has been sending its delegation everywhere, and Samajwadi Party has always been raising the grassroots level questions that needs to be asked from the government. Because we are in opposition.
So you're doing your job as a responsible opposition by going to people and telling them that the state is acting against you because you happen to be minorities. Is that your job?
It's not just the minorities are there. As you said, there are 9 temples.
Sir, but your party is focusing. But your party is not focusing on Hindus. It is focusing on Muslims, suggesting that they live here in the majority. Let me tell you, sir, it's not just your party. Look at the Congress. Look at Mayawati. This is her tweet. An inhuman act of uprooting thousands of poor and Muslim families in the name of removal of encroachments. She is also, sir, prefacing her comments by using identity. Now, I want to open this up. We've heard Mr. Silas. I don't want to constantly, sir, badger you, but it's quite clear that you've woken up on the wrong foot today, and this is not right. Sushil Pandit, how do you see this?
I'm reminded of a slogan that I used to often hear, especially from Samajwadi cadre, jo zameen sarkari hai, wo zameen hamari hai. In fact, during their Halla Bol agitations, their slogan was, Band dukaan tumhari, khuli dukaan hamari, literally threatening the shopkeepers if they open their shops, they'll be looted. But leave that as it may. In 2016, you know, this land grab is epic. They decided that all former chief ministers would be entitled to a free bungalow for life in the poshest area of Lucknow. And several chief ministers allotted themselves. From Samajwadi Party, both father and son allotted themselves sprawling bungalows and spent crores on them. And when Supreme Court struck it down, they enacted a law in order to legalize this loot of public estate. And finally, of course, all of us know when they were still forced to leave, they even uprooted the water taps. Now, this is the mindset, right from the top to the lowest cadre, where they encourage people to encroach, to grab, and then give it a cloak of human rights. We've seen this in Kashmir, where jihad is given the cloak of azadi in order to look good. But this is not going to pull wool over our eyes, least of all the courts, where they were absent when the court was adjudging this matter. They did not present their arguments in front of court. They are going into extrajudicial ways of subverting the system. This has to be resisted. This has to be resisted in every legal, logical, public manner. And this is the duty of every citizen to do so. Otherwise, this country will go to dogs and we will have social strife.
So let me tell you, we are all concerned about human rights, but let's also consider what the court said about non-existent private rights not superseding a public need. And this is very important. It said, owing to the aforesaid reasons, we are of the view that since by the documents which had been placed on record before us and which had been analyzed by us, it could be ultimately concluded that no private need, even though it may not be existing in the instant case in relation to the interveners, could have a precedence over and above a public need, and that too on a property which has been otherwise vested with the railways as per the Khevat pertaining to 1959. And it also goes on to say the reasons why it acted, because there was a very real danger to the railway infrastructure, including threats from floods or any other natural calamity because of the illegal mining activity that is going on. Ashutosh ji, you are a political analyst of great experience. You've been a journalist. Do you believe that a political party should play the identity card on the back of what a court has ordered, and not once, but twice? So the same issues have been gone over by the court not once, but twice. And in the previous iteration, the court said that the Congress was playing vote bank politics. I have read the quote to you. Why should we today believe the opposition when it says it's fighting for human rights?
Rahul, I think it is because of the vote bank politics that the political parties who espouse for this are there in such a bad situation today. This is a classic case for the two reasons. One, I think here the state cannot be blamed, for the simple reason because the High Court has given an order, and High Court has given an order once the matter has gone to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has ordered High Court to look into the matter and decide. So state has nothing to do with it. But the bigger issue is, instead of blaming citizens, my argument is simple, that how come 11 accredited private schools were allowed to be built? How come 3 government schools were allowed to be built? How a public health center was allowed to be built? And then 10 mosques, 12 madrasas and 1 temple was allowed to be built on this period. Unless there is a serious connivance of the state, unless there is a serious connivance of a local bureaucrats. So I think if citizens have encroached on the land, there must have been a whole lot of mafia in connivance with the government or in connivance with the bureaucracy, whether the Congress government or the BJP government, any government. I'm not worried about it. So what is the punishment for them?
Yes.
Why they are not asked to be
That's a very good point.
They should also be
accountability has to be affixed all around. I agree with you, Ashutosh ji. And I wish that the political parties who went today to speak to the residents or pay what is known as a visit in the interests of Sadbhavna had spoken in the same secular language that Ashutosh ji is speaking today. But they didn't. You wanted to make a point, Mr. Pandit.
Yes. No, I think he's made some very valid points, and those who have done this, as in wasted public funds in building this infrastructure, should also be taken to task. But I have a point here. When you have hundreds and thousands of your citizens living somewhere, even if illegally, there are some basic services a state is bound to provide.
Yeah.
You have to provide water, you have to provide sanitation, you have to provide health, you have to provide education before you decide whether these people...
Mr. Pandit, let me also tell you what the court is aware of this. It's not as if what Ashutosh ji is saying has not been registered by the court. This is what the court said. The railway administration is further directed to initiate an appropriate proceedings as against the erring persons, including the officials of the concerned establishments, for not cooperating in the process of eviction as directed above, and they would also be taken to task for establishment or allowing the encroachers by occupying the land belonging to the railways, which itself is contemplated under Indian Railways Works Manual as provided under its para 815. So the court has also said that time has come for the state to affix responsibility against its own officials who have erred. So this is a very balanced judgment. And therefore, Mr. Iyer, I want to bring you in. Abhijit Iyer Mitra is on this panel. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, what are we actually seeing here? I am finding that there is an attempt to turn this entire issue into another Shaheen Bagh 2.0. And the fact is that these people are emboldened because they know what happened.
So thanks for having me, Rahul. Good evening. This is, it isn't a suspicion you have. A certain criminal who triggered riots earlier last year against a certain BJP spokesperson has actually tweeted just that there needs to be a Shaheen Bagh 2.0 to raise this issue on every platform. So he triggered riots last year. He wants to trigger riots again this year. So this is nothing new. Now, we need to understand an encroachment as per Indian law is illegal. It leads to up to 3 months in jail. Up to 3 months in jail and 550 rupees in fine. The fine isn't big. The 3 months in jail is big. Number one. Number two, how has encroachment worked in this country? What you do is you set up a particular vote bank to go grab a certain part of land, and then you use the provision of public services, especially government services, to retrospectively legalize that seizure. So you go putting in public hospitals, public schools, etc., and then it is deemed normalized. And because it becomes a large voter segment, it then gets taken over by a certain set of people who then sell it a few years down the line to a big developer, mostly controlled by politicians for one reason or the other. You can see this pattern across the country. It is not specific to this particular state or UP or anything like that. However, there are other issues here also to consider. Now, you or I, if we buy a house, the government can take it away from us. Remember, the right to property was removed from the Constitution in 1978. A right to property is no longer considered a fundamental right since 1978. So the government can, in fact, take away your property for compensation. The difference is you and I will, in spite of what we paid for our houses, which would be significantly higher than the circuit rate, would only be compensated at the circuit rate. The problem here is this is encroached land.
Yes.
They did not buy the land.
Yeah.
They went there, they committed a criminal action punishable by up to 3 months in jail and going and occupying that land. And now they want alternative compensation for a criminal act to be set up.
That's a very good point, because viewers, yesterday, many people had pointed out, and I had tried to draw that distinction about how irregular colonies, unauthorized colonies in Delhi were legalized by the center. Now, that happened because a large number of these people actually bought the land. So, in effect, they were going to be punished twice over. And when that particular act was passed, Act of Parliament, to legalize those unauthorized 1,700 or so colonies in the national capital, this was challenged and the Supreme Court never stayed it. Viewers, it tells you, here, the court has gone into the facts. And Asif Sohail, despite the court, not once but twice in a span of 2016 to 2023, 5 to 8 years, you have a situation where political analysts, political parties and an ecosystem are saying that this is a motivated attack against minorities. What are you doing, sir? Are you trying to create some sort of separatist situation?
राहुल जी, थैंक यू फॉर अलाउइंग मी टू कीप माय स्टैंड। देखिए राहुल, इस जो नया भारत जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री लीड कर रहे हैं, उस भारत में चाइना जो सो हिंदुस्तान की जमीन पे आ सकता है, हजारों करोड़ का लोन को राइट ऑफ कर सकते हैं, दिल्ली में रेगुलाइज कर सकते हैं, हरियाणा में 365 रिलीजियस स्ट्रक्चर को लीगलाइज कर सकते हैं। बट यहां पर हम स्कूल्स को तोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, मंदिर को तोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, कॉलेजेस को तोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, 4,500 घरों को तोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं। इट्स ए गवर्नमेंट लाइन, ठीक है, लेट्स एक्सेप्ट इट, वी ऑनर व्हाट द कोर्ट हैज सेड, दैट वी आर नॉट डिनाइंग दैट, बट प्राइम मिनिस्टर has promised everyone कि
सोहेल साहब, आपकी एनालॉजी एकदम ही नहीं, आपकी एनालॉजी इज वेरी स्ट्रेंज। सर सोहेल साहब, मेरी बात सुनिए। यू टॉक अबाउट चाइना grabbing our land. No, 1 minute. So what should the Indian government do? Should they regularize their land grab or should they take the land back?
नहीं तो कर रहे नहीं ना सर, वो उसके लिए
वो अलग बात है। मैं ये आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ, सबसे पहले तो आप कह रहे हैं कि चाइना has grabbed our land without any proof. Secondly, no, 1 second. Are you arguing that the government should write off Indian land grabbed, supposedly, allegedly grabbed by China to propitiate some human rights? Have you gone?
That's what they have already.
Have you gone completely, sir? No, 1 second. Have you gone completely today, sir? Out of your mind?
देखिए, नहीं,
आप कह क्या रहे हैं?
बताइए, प्लीज टेल मी वन
No, you tell me. Are the courts not aware? No, excuse me, sir. I am not talking about the government here. You are talking about governments. We are talking about the Indian. No, we are talking about the Indian courts.
Majority section of Sir, majority section of the people are belong to Muslim community.
There you go.
See, I'm not doing Hindu
Muslim
over here.
Of course you are doing it. What do you mean that a majority belongs to Muslims and therefore? No, you are saying exactly. No, 1 second. You hold your thoughts. Please lower his fader. Just 1 minute, 30 seconds, please. Just give me, Mr. Sohail, 30 seconds. Listen now to what Amit Jamai said, viewers, Samajwadi Party. Listen, and I want to bring in Rashmi Sawant and I want to ask her, what is informing this particular sectarian point of view? Listen first, viewers.
नरेंद्र मोदी के राज में अल्पसंख्यक सुरक्षित नहीं है। हमारा ये कहना है समाजवादी पार्टी के लोगों का कि जब वो दशकों से वहां पे रह रहे हैं तो आपको उजाड़ने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। और समाजवादी पार्टी ये जानती है कि रेलवे का जो निजीकरण है, उसकी जमीनें प्राइम लैंड हैं, ये किसी न किसी पूंजीपति को देने के लिए गरीब मुसलमानों को, गरीब कोई भी हो, उसको उजाड़ने का काम हल्द्वानी में जो हो रहा है। समाजवादी पार्टी पूछना चाहती है इस देश की हुकूमत से, शहंशाह से, कि आप उनका धर्म जो भी हो, उनके बच्चे, उनके बूढ़े, उनकी माएं रात में कड़ाके की ठंड में बैठे हैं और शहंशाह सो रहा है दिल्ली में।
Viewers, completely communalize this eviction drive. You're asking the government of the day when it is actually the courts that have taken a position.
Why the government showing a tough year?
It is following the law of the land, sir. Asif Sohail Saab, it is following the law of the land. Do you want your government to reduce this country to a banana republic? Tomorrow someone will go and squat inside the parliament. आप उनको दे देंगे क्योंकि बाहर ठंड है बहुत।
क्यों दिल नहीं है क्या? प्रधानमंत्री को दिल नहीं है क्या?
सर, अवैध काम कोई करे,
टूटने का दर्द जानते हैं आप। मैं आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हाट्स गोइंग एवरीवेयर। इतने 4,500 लोग रोड के ऊपर मर रहे हैं, तो क्यों नहीं आ रहे हैं आगे प्रधानमंत्री? आकर बोल देना कि ये घर हम दे रहे हैं आपको, रेगुलाइज करेंगे हम, बता।
सर, आप अपना घर ही दे दीजिए।
भाषणों में, जुमलों में बोलेंगे क्या?
आपका दिल इतना बड़ा, आप अपना घर दे दीजिए। आसिफ सोहेल साहब,
बराबर मेरा घर तो खुला है, आइए ना।
That's the problem. You see, viewers, here is the problem. The taxpayer, the public interest will suffer twice over because there are certain people who want to regularize an irregularity. 1 minute, let me bring in 1 second. There is also the Congress MLA joins us, but before I go to him, I want to bring in Rashmi Sawant. Rashmi Sawant, what do you make of this argument that the government is heartless, that it has got a problem against, or the state is heartless, including the courts, has got a problem against the minority community? It wants to, in some way, change the demographics of this area so it can win elections. What do you make of this?
Well, thank you for having me here. The first point that I'd like to make is that of the eviction notices handed out, 1,000 Hindu families have been handed out eviction notices. It's not 1 or 2 families just for the sake of political propriety. 1,000 Hindu families. So the use of Islamophobia bogeyman is just being used because it's been a tried and tested method of creating outrage, not just nationally, but internationally. The moment the Islamophobia narrative is sparked in India, you find allies across the world. So that's basically what's happening here. It is being used to evoke a Shaheen Bagh-like sentiment. It is being used to create international outrage. Secondly, the land that we're talking about here is railway land. And I think we can all agree that, it is a safety concern to have encroachers on railway land. It is also a key infrastructure point, and we cannot simply have encroachers building up, property on railway land, and it can lead up to serious repercussions for our very country. So I think this type of politicization by nefarious groups and acceptance of nefarious activities only goes on to show how low opposition is willing to stoop and the kind of crimes that they're willing to unsee just to stay in power. And this is alarming to every tax-paying and, a citizen of India, because the kind of opposition we have here is willing to bend backwards.
Look at this. Pawan Khera of the Congress says, our constitution doesn't distinguish on the basis of caste, religion and language. Why is the government picking and choosing? Picking and choosing what, viewers? Its targets? Is that what the Congress is saying? Look at the dog whistle here, the communal dog whistle. I want to go across to Mr. Sumit Hridayesh, Haldwani MLA. Mr. Hridayesh, in 2016, let me read out what the court said, 2017 in fact, when Harish Rawat ji was the Chief Minister of the state, Congress-ruled state. The High Court then said...
He wasn't chief.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2017 March, the BJP had come into power.
Okay. So, sir, I'm talking about January 2017. I'm talking about January 2017. Unless he had went on holiday much before the BJP came to power, I will stand corrected. So don't be a sophist here. Okay? January 2017, he was the Chief Minister. Okay? Now let's come to what the court said. Owing to the certain most reckoned political shield which was then being provided by the then ruling party for its political gains to the unauthorized occupants, just to secure its vote bank, the state itself has filed a Review 38 petition for no subsisting and valid reasons. It threw out, sir, your review petition in 2017 January and told that you were playing vote bank politics.
Yeah, so that is a due process of law.
5 years later, one second. 6 years later, you are again back to playing vote bank politics? If not, explain why we should believe you today.
We are not playing vote bank politics.
Really?
I'm sorry.
So why didn't you implement the order? Why didn't you implement the order in January 2017?
You and your viewers.
Why didn't you implement the order in January 2017?
I will have to describe to you, because I am the sitting MLA from there, so I don't think you know this matter as well as me.
No, I don't know, sir,
I know
but
what
the
you're
courts
being
do.
fed,
The courts do, and the courts have ruled.
On the ground,
the courts do. Are you challenging the wisdom of the courts? I'm only quoting the courts, sir.
Yeah,
I don't
we are
need
going
to
to
know.
the Supreme Court
I don't
tomorrow,
need to
sir.
live there or no. I am quoting.
Sir, we believe in the due process of law, sir. We believe in the due process of law. That's
if you believe the due process of law, you would not have filed. No, 1 second. If you
Congress Party
no, 1 second, sir.
Advocate is Mr.
When your review petition was dismissed according to due process of law in January 2017, no, let me finish, sir.
The anchor.
What did the state say?
The
state. No, 1 second. The state was accused. Excuse me.
I know what 2017 says, and I know what's happening in 2022.
Mr. Hridayesh.
And I know what's happened to the national media since 2014.
Right.
So if you want me to argue,
the national media since 2014 has suddenly become anti the Congress Party.
I know where you're being fed from. So if you can listen to me patiently.
Right. No, I'm not going to listen to you patiently. I'm only quoting to you the facts. So you have to listen to me and then respond to my question patiently, sir. You can choose to argue with me, shout me down, take pot shots. I have not taken any pot shots against you, sir. I've only quoted. You can be personal with me, no problems.
No, sure.
I'm only quoting. I'm only, sher, that is how, unfortunately, that has become the view, that has become the practice view of the Congress Party. It's fine. I'm in no way holding it against you. You're only following a toolkit. But let me tell you, sir, this is what the court said. The court accused you of creating a political shield. I'm quoting the court. Your petition was dismissed as having no subsisting and valid reasons, quote unquote, except for furthering your vote bank, to secure your vote bank. These are the words of the court. I'm holding it up.
I'd like to reply.
Please, go ahead.
Can I?
Yes, yes.
Can I reply now?
Of course.
Yeah, first of all, do you know how many percentages of review petitions are dismissed in the Honorable IA or Supreme Court? 99%. That is a due process of law, because your understanding of the law, I think because of these recent events, must have been slightly evolved. But we've understood this process because we faced this situation multiple times. So review petitions are duly dismissed because the judge, the same judge or the same bench, the honorable bench, are given this review petition, and obviously, mostly on their grounds, they stand firm on what the original decision was. So then you move to a higher court. This is what the Congress has done. So when our high court interventions did not pay any heed, we have moved the Supreme Court. We are only saying that the Sarkar, the Rajya Sarkar, our state government, did not stake its claim to its own land.
Okay.
Now there are 5 or 6 big municipal corporations in Uttarakhand.
Okay.
Haldwani, Rudrapur, Roorkee, Haridwar, Dehradun.
Okay.
70% of the land in these municipal corporations is Nazul land, which is government land.
Sir.
And listen, it is different from railway land. And I am saying that 2/3 of this demarcation is false, because there was no joint revenue and railway demarcation.
Okay, so Mr.
And
Hidesh,
the state government
you are
did not
absolutely
stand
right.
up for its citizens.
You are absolutely
did not
right.
Want
you
to
approached the
take its
Supreme
land.
Court. Okay, okay. You are absolutely right. You approached the Supreme Court. So then what did the Supreme Court do, viewers? Let me tell you what the Supreme Court do. The Supreme Court, when this dismissal in 2017 January was challenged in the Supreme Court, it allowed the individual petitioners in the case to file their cases once again before the appropriate benches in the High Court. And after 6 years, viewers, 2017, 2018, 2019,
Not
2021, 22, 23.
That's
sir,
where you're
the
wrong,
High
sir.
Court,
You're misinformed.
1 second, sir, please. The High Court comes out.
Misinformed, sir. Not the High Court, sir.
On November
Lower
1st.
courts. Starting from the railway court, sir.
Right, okay. So we
Get your
even go
facts
further
straight.
down. So the matter comes again to the High Court. Fine, sir. I jumped to save time. Fair
Yes,
enough.
sir.
It sent it back to the, as I said, 1 second,
The matter
appropriate
doesn't come to the High Court.
benches.
There was a fresh PIL
Fine,
file.
sir. Then it went all
Again,
the way
you
back
haven't
up
done
to
your
the
homework right, have you?
It went up all the way back to the High Court, and the
easier
High
for you
Court has
to,
again come to the same
your
conclusion,
toolkit is
not
very
once
strong.
but twice.
It's very easy for you to paint a picture the way you want it.
Okay. The fact
Okay,
is,
we'll go to the Supreme Court, we'll win again.
Sumit
we
Saab,
believe in the process of law in this country,
Sumit
sir.
Saab,
We do.
Sumit Saab, please, give me 30 seconds. It's okay. I know the compulsion.
साहब तो आप है, मैं तो सुमित ही हूँ.
नहीं,
Thank you.
देखिए, I'm not going to be in any way impolite like you have been, but it's okay. Viewers, the matter goes to the Supreme Court. Eventually, after 6 years, it ends up back in the High Court. It goes through the entire rigorous process, and again, the High Court rules in favor of the railways and starts and says that in 10 days, we need an eviction. Not once, but twice. The first time, of course, it pulled up the Congress. The second, and for vote bank politics, the second time, viewers, it is also pulling up the officials who colluded to create this problem in the first place. Once again, we are back with these opportunistic politicians standing in the way, defending an illegality. Now, I leave it to you, viewers, to think this through. Tomorrow, the matter is going to be in the Supreme Court once again. Most likelihood, it will be stayed. And we'll be back through the same rigmarole. One hopes it isn't, but it might be. Let's move on, viewers. Let's move on, because